Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Marketplace. My name is Daryl Kwao. Coming up, we head to the Ghana Stock Exchange to learn about adjustments amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The exchange is welcoming moves by some listed companies to hold virtual meetings. We'll tell you about it. Also coming up, petroleum consumers call for investigations into low quality of LPG delivered by Atobo Gas Processing Company. We hear from the Executive Secretary. Plus, the Chamber of Mines is calling for a review of the Mines and Minerals Act to make all large-scale companies pay the same royalty. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. We've got details right after this break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Marketplace. You may have heard of the saying, we are not in normal times. Well, same can be said of the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, Managing Director Aboagye-Wiafe says due to the outbreak of COVID-19, the exchange welcomes moves by some listed companies to hold annual general meetings and other engagements with shareholders virtually. According to him, listed companies without large numbers can make use of virtual platforms to make disclosures.
All over the world, listed companies are finding ways. So how do we organize AGMs? So you find some of them trying to do virtual AGMs. In Ghana, you might see a few of them doing that very soon. But the ones with the very huge numbers of shareholders, we might find it difficult doing that. GCB, MTN, etc. But you find the smaller ones trying to do virtual. As an exchange, we don't have any issue with companies doing virtual AGMs. And I don't think the regulators also have issues with that, because it ends up the same. You're still doing a meeting, but this time it's virtual.
All right, next we want to inform you about a situation that is very worrying. Over 500,000 eggs sit at the farm gates in various markets nationwide, getting rotten as an egg glut hits the country. The Ashanti region has the largest population of large-scale poultry farmers, numbering about 13. Now, COVID-19 is being blamed for the glut, and the producers are appealing to government to pick them up. There's more in this report.
Eggs. Several eggs at the railway market Kumasi go bad as a glut hits the country from COVID-19. The hardest hit in the value chain are women. They are here sitting outside waiting for customers who may never come in these COVID times. More than 90% of sellers are women who say they are losing thousands of Ghana cedis. These are eggs which should have been bought within a day. However, they have been here for over 5 days.
A lot is had been in the system. So we were trying to plead into the authorities. We have a lot of people, the donors, that they are giving money to others, they are giving free food to others, that they also coming into our aid. Why? Because we are all aware that eggs reduce our immune system. So if they also turn their attention into our side and buy some of the eggs we have the orphanages, they can give it to them, that's one. We have the frontline fighters, that is the doctors and nurses that they are taking care of the COVID patients. They also can take some so that it will imbue their immune system to fight against the disease. And then we have the prisoners as well, we can give them to them. And they are needy one. There are some people that they cannot even get money to buy one egg. They wait until it's Xmas or Easter before they can get one egg to eat. So those people too, the authority can also help us so that we buy these eggs for them and they also get their immune system to fight against the disease that we are all thinking about.
They used to be bought cash and carry, but they are currently being given out on credit, and the various experiences are bad.
So be our customers kakra be concry be takra de takwa pristiane ade nti wo customer ho a wo hwe abebu so no na otwe bi e de bebro nti na esa won so wo di bi come ma nti obi ho a utiri yi a ɔyɛ no kwafo ɔbɛtɔn no de usika abro obi also obedi fa obi okra o metua kra before Christmas e wo ha ye tokosi abrante bi e fra na adu jamfi wo ba ko wo beto utua e na osan ba biem one maame bi di dwa wa ha abrante ne beto ye mrada sesa akosi e wo ha nyina de ko e ye nte ne nka biem wo fra no cross o nimu se ano ne ayehia aban ne so ne se obeboa yen so o madeda hospitals na o mentumi ntokosi ani bi no aban beboa na wato na wachecha ama wom
aka ne de first kosi ene day e betuma to more than 1,000 crates say kosi aba 50 crates akoso na 100 yen tokosi anokra ti ama adwuma ne ye ayetin sisi de e papai ne de se dodo na yetugu ebi se wunya ba bia emfa nko first na nko mo ye aduane bi bua ye sisi no mo se de aye no kosi o de koye aduane bi hu a obeka se ase onto ntitu a na yetugu ntika na yebo me amegina ho me sika wo 1 billion e wo kam me nsanka wo be china wo be kono so saa ontia kama nso so ye den a obegini sika e bi se na odo to aduane ama abo na di no asade abele yen nti ye wo hande nipa bebrere de ka nipa bebrere hwe ye wo mo de ka hu be hu so de meka wo be kono so saa wo bu twakwan a onsanka.
Hajia Amina Haruna tells me this would have been a time when the market has excess eggs, but not to this extent. She adds some 50,000 crates were picked by the gender ministry during the lockdown, but since then virtually no one is buying the eggs.
Every year we had a glut of eggs. Usually start from April, May, June, July, up to November. When they sell some of the birds, then it comes down. But it's usually every year.
It looks like this year is worse because of the COVID-19. Can you give us an idea about how bad it is currently?
It's true. This year, since January, because of the disease, nobody is coming. So unfortunately for us, government too came and collect part of it, which is not all what we want. So after the collection of the little they can, the rest has been stopped. So we are still on the glut. Yeah. There's no way for us to take it because the borders have been closed. Previously, when the borders were there, we can take some to Aflao or Burkina, but now the borders have been closed, so we can't take them anywhere. Yeah.
How is this affecting your business as somebody who constantly does this kind of business?
It's affecting us too much because we have brokerages, damages, nobody is buying them. So we have to take them home and eat some. And then some too, we can't eat them because of the lockup.
The Ashanti region has the largest number of large-scale poultry farmers out of the 29 across the country. We have come to Aboagye-Wiafe, where one of the 13 large-scale farms are. Santak Farm alone has 225,000 birds here. Majority are layers. Average industry egg production is 250 eggs per layer per day. The average cost per kilogram of producing broilers in Ghana estimated at 15 Ghana cedis for large-scale producers and higher for small-scale producers. Ghana produces more than 78 million birds. Well, guess what? About 80% of these birds are layers. It means several eggs in the market during these COVID times. In this poultry farm alone, we have over 40,000 eggs, that's a crate of eggs, waiting to be bought. To the market? No, because in the market women cannot pick these huge numbers. This is actually a production of about a week, and the farmers are helpless. They don't know where to send these eggs as there's currently a glut.
The market have been closed and the market women are not being allowed to sell their eggs. So it's causing us a huge problem. Right now, for them to come for their eggs is a problem, and movements too is being restricted. At least we will have about 4,000 eggs of trays per day.
So what's going to happen? How are you going to dispose of these eggs?
If things don't change, we have no option.
Debts have begun piling for women who have taken loans.
You know that this work demands a lot of financing, and most of our finances are from banks. And now the X is the money that we use, the X money is the money that we use to pay those loans. But now, they are not buying the X. So it continues to lie at the farms and the markets, as you witness with it. So it's affecting our business. What we are doing now is we make it as a contract to get a lot of the eggs for people to do. So we are advertising the places that they need eggs. We just call all of them, make arrangements to collect a lot of them, and then we give it. We have been also been to government also to help us, because last month when the lockdown was there, we were able to see the government officials to give us, Minister of Agri, they are all in with us, and Gender Ministry, to see her. They give us about a contract of 50,000 eggs so that they'll be given to the needy. And Ashanti region here too, they collected some of our eggs. We gather it for them also to buy so that it will reduce the tension that is in the system.
Over 500,000 eggs across the country are not being bought, and many more add to the numbers daily. The layer industry is currently the relic left of the poultry industry. Ghana imports more than 60% of cut chicken in a year. In 2018 alone, the imported number was 61%, though a policy document indicates 60%. This had to go on to bridge the gap or to augment the imported needs of the country. Majority of the importation is from the United States of America. Ghana used to export poultry about 20 years ago. As it stands now, the country spends close to $400 million every year importing chicken. Ghana also imports about 70% of its day-old chicks, making the layer market the only sector really thriving. The coronavirus has dealt a big blow to the sector with the various closures, and it will take a huge support from government to revive it.
And that's just unbelievable. 500,000 eggs going waste. I can't just imagine. Well, joining me in studio to discuss this is coordinator for the Ghana National Egg Secretariat. She is Comfort ACHEAMPONG. She joins me in the studio to discuss this. And that is something else. I don't know what to say to this, but is this just because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sure, it is. I would say that it is fully due to the COVID. Some years ago, when the problem of cholesterol in eggs was all over the place, consumption of eggs went down. Okay. But for 4 years, there was a campaign on egg consumption. So at least that changed the whole thing, because the myth surrounding the consumption of eggs was removed. People were actually believing that egg was a good food to be eaten and so on. And that is true. From nowhere, this COVID has come in, and people are still or were eating eggs. Eggs were being brought to Accra from Domahinkro, from Kumasi, from all the egg producing areas to Accra and to other places. And farmers were making good sales. Then when this COVID came, first the lockdown, movement of eggs to the cities, to the sales centers had a lot of challenges. Then, now that it is also lifted, when we started, just before the lockdown, there was this panic buying. Yeah. So people who were eating eggs or who used to eat a lot of eggs started storing or stocking eggs in their homes. So when it was lifted, these eggs were still there on people's farms. Those who could manage and bring the trucks of eggs to Accra couldn't find buyers. The women who are selling the eggs on the market could not be found, because some people buy on credit, or they give it to them on credit weekly, and after every week they come to collect their money and they give them fresh ones. Right. This time they come and they cannot even trace the people they gave the eggs to. So what is happening is true. It's not a concocted story. It is true.
Well, we've seen the videos there from Odilia and Tiama, who went to cover that story for us. So it's indeed true. Yeah. But I want to know if ever you have experienced a glut, and when you do experience a glut, usually what do you do with the eggs that are getting rotten? Thank you for that question. In the late 90s, or early 90s through to the late 90s, there were a lot of glut, more especially after Christmas and then after the Ramadan. People were not buying it because of the cholesterol story which I've just mentioned. Then this education came in about the benefit of eggs, and it changed. Now during that time, farmers were burying thousands of eggs. So they bury the eggs when the eggs. Wow. Yes. Well, I'll come back to that, but joining us to discuss this a bit further is Anthony Morrison. He's with the Chamber of Agribusiness, and so great to have you on the show this afternoon, Anthony Morrison. What do you make of this story about the glut of eggs you're seeing, and that they could potentially get buried if, we don't get a market for them? Hello, Anthony. Can you hear me, Anthony? Okay, we'll fix the sound issues and go back to Anthony. So you told me that the eggs are buried, and that's the end of the story. They are thrown away. They are thrown away, and that comes with cost to the poultry farmers. Exactly. And that's so bad. So really, people are now saying maybe there should be a change in policy. You know, we usually have this 80% concentration on layers and maybe 20 on broilers. Should we change that policy maybe, and maybe concentrate more on broilers and maybe do few eggs? What do you think? If we want to change this 80%, then the importation of the frozen chicken must stop, because we have farmers who have the ability, the capability, all that it takes to produce broilers in the country. Now people who used to produce broilers for the market at age 10 weeks, even 12 weeks, but now farmers have the education that they can even produce broilers at 6 weeks, 42 days. The broiler is ready for the market, for the table. But then they have the problem of marketing. The frozen chicken is cheaper than what we are producing in the country. So that's why most farmers decided to do the layer. Because for the layer, you have the eggs there, quick market for the eggs. In the end, when your birds have laid for about 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, you sell them as spent layers, and that is good money also. So that's why. So I'm thinking that there would have been market for the eggs if it was not for COVID-19, right? Yes, that's true, because nobody was complaining about the sales of eggs any longer. So my final question to you would be, what can be done to help these farmers who are obviously distressed, who are affected by the situation there? Thank you very much. I was looking at a program, and then I'm also on a certain platform, and in an African country, the state governors, some state governors, were buying the eggs because they are also having the glut. They bought the eggs being stored there that are not sold. The state bought them and gave them to frontline workers, to the media, just to ease that challenge, that big problem from the head of the farmers. So I feel that if the government can come to the aid of these farmers, so that at least these eggs that are sitting there, over 500,000, will be bought by government and invested into something else.
And then, yes, given to other people. And then also, if we can appeal to corporate bodies, to individuals who are donating PPEs, they can include X.
Okay.
If you are sending the face masks and whatever, at least send about 2,000, 3,000 trays of X also.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to move over and try and speak with Anthony Morrison of the Chamber of Agribusiness. Thank you so much, Anthony. Hopefully we can get to speak to you now. So what do you make of this? Hello, Anthony. Okay, so Anthony, we're having challenges with him, but thank you very much for sharing your perspective with us, and we hope that there's some breakthrough and that those eggs don't just get buried. Comfort ACHEAMPONG is coordinator of the Ghana National Egg Secretariat. We want to move on to other stories on the marketplace. The Chamber of Mines is asking government to review the Mines and Minerals Act to make all large-scale companies pay the same tax. The current sliding rate allows mining companies to invest more than $500 million, and they're given the opportunity to renegotiate the rate. Currently, about 3 companies in the large-scale sector enjoy less than 5% royalty payment.
Law, if you consider the Minerals and Mining Act, talking about the project development agreements, where if you make investments in excess of about $500 million, you're able to sit with government and negotiate terms and all of that. The whole idea is that such investments tend to be big, and the impact on the economy is much larger, and therefore you should be able to sit around the table and negotiate with government on various terms. So that is backed by law. But our view is that whilst this is backed by law, the flip side is that when you have a crunch, the relatively smaller companies tend to bear a bigger brunt. And therefore, it makes sense for us to look at a level playing field. So that is the advocacy that we're doing, that, look, if indeed things become quite difficult for the industry, when you consider economies of scale, larger companies tend to be less, burdened by the small, relative to the smaller companies. And that's why we believe that we should have a level playing field, because in such situations, the relatively smaller companies tend to be quite hurt, and it's important to have a level playing field.
And you're still at the marketplace. The Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, Duncan Amoah, is raising red flags over the quality of liquefied petroleum gas delivered by the Tuabo Gas Company. Now, according to him, the recent product from the company has been contaminated, a situation he fears will be causing explosions if not checked. He's calling on the Ministry of Energy to intervene immediately to avert any unforeseen consequences. Thanks for watching, everyone. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching.